Hey everyone, good evening. Hey everyone, good evening. How are you all? I hope you can hear me. I hope all of you are well. Yes, you can hear me. Great. So today we'll be talking about lung cancer. And did you know lung cancer is the leading cause of cancer deaths in India and around the world? And November is all about Cancer Awareness Month, especially Lung Cancer Awareness Month. And today we'll be having a very special guest with us. He's an expert in this field. His name is Professor Dr. Arvind Kumar, and he'll be joining us shortly. Lung cancer and how it can be detected in early stages. Just waiting for doctor to join.
No.
Hi, doctor. Good evening.
Hi, Digvijay. Good evening. How are you?
Sir, I'm very well, sir. I can't see you.
You can't see me.
Good evening, doctor. How are you?
Hi, good evening. How are you?
I'm very well. Good to see you. We have been waiting for you, and for all that knowledge that you're going to share with us.
Same here, Digvijay. First of all, allow me to apologize to you and
No
to
problem.
all the people who have joined. Actually, we were trying to log in through the laptop, and then we realized that actually we can't, and then we switched to. So that's why it took some time. My apologies once again, and good evening to all the great followers of the great trainer that Digvijay is. And allow me to say that it's a pleasure indeed for me to be part of this great conversation. Over to you, Digvijay.
Thank you so much, doctor. I'll just quickly introduce doctor. He's Professor Dr. Arvind Kumar, and he's the leading chest expert in India. He's the chairman of Institute of Chest Surgery, Medanta, Gurugram, and he's also a chest onco and chest transplant surgeon at Medanta Hospital, Gurugram. And today we'll be talking a lot about lung cancer and the lung cancer awareness, and how November is the lung cancer awareness month. So doctor, could you just quickly tell us about what is lung cancer and why it is important to talk about it?
Sure. Digvijay, whenever you have an uncontrolled abnormal growth of any tissue anywhere in the body, we call it cancer. So every growth is not cancer, because when we are born, we are a small child and we grow to the adult size. That's what is called a proper, orderly, controlled growth. Every organ grows to a certain size, which is predetermined, and then the growth stops. That is what normal growth is. But sometimes any tissue from head to toe starts growing irregularly in an uncontrolled, abnormal manner, to the extent that it destroys any and every organ that comes in its way, and also tends to spread to various parts of the body. That is what is called cancer. And when that cancer occurs in the lung, we call it lung cancer. Now, why are we discussing this topic today? This particular cancer, that is lung cancer, was virtually unheard of and unknown in the pre-industrialization era. And as the industrialization started and side by side smoking and all those habits started, we started seeing a rise in the incidence of lung cancer. Till about 20 years back, it was mainly confined to Western countries. We weren't facing this as a big problem, but I'm sorry to state that in the last decade or so, it's turned into a major issue in our country. And in the last few years, in many metros and big cities in the country, the lung cancer has become the #1 cancer in terms of incidence. What do I mean by that? That if we take, say, 20 cancers occurring in different parts of the body and total the number of new cases occurring in that cancer, so lung cancer is #1. It is also the #1 killer in males, and it is also rising in females. Now, why has that happened? Anybody would like to think that why is the lung cancer increasing? It's increasing because of, initially we thought it was only smoking related, but now I'm seeing lot of patients who are not smokers, and we are now attributing it to exposure to pollution. Now, why should pollution cause lung cancer? Why does smoke from cigarette cause lung cancer? Smoke from cigarette causes lung cancer because the cigarette smoke has got about 70 chemicals which are known cancer causing agent, and it is inhalation of those cancer causing agents which is responsible for lung cancer. And sadly, the polluted air also has many of those cancer causing agents which are found in the smoke from the cigarette. So which means that polluted air and cigarette smoke virtually, in terms of composition, in terms of containing cancer causing agents, they are more or less the same. So if you are breathing polluted air, it almost tantamounts to smoking. And there is a conversion formula, Digvijay, which I would like to share with the viewers, which says that when we measure particulate, you must have heard a term called PM. Now, PM doesn't refer only to Prime Minister. It also refers to something called particulate matter, which are teeny mini particles which are present in the air, polluted air, which leads to some kind of a problems. And in terms of damage to the lung, there is a conversion formula that 22 microgram per meter cube of PM 2.5 is equal to 1 cigarette. So if you are breathing in this city with PM 2.5 levels of, say, 220, and you breathe for 24 hours in the city, in terms of damage, it will be like smoking 10 cigarettes. In many cities in the north today, the PM 2.5 level is close to 350, 400. On the post-Diwali day, it was even higher in some cities. So that was equal to almost 15 to 20 cigarettes per day. So that's the importance that this breathing polluted air is causing a lot of damage to us, just like cigarette smoke does. And that is why we are seeing an increase in the incidence of lung cancer. Digvijay.
Okay, I think that's a lot. I think the level of pollution has gone up so much, and I've experienced. So I had bronchitis when, like, that's my personal experience when my dad got posted. So he was in army. When he got posted to Delhi, I experienced breathing issues, I think after 5-6 months, because definitely the Delhi pollution, and I had bronchitis. So for a few years I had bronchitis, and after focusing on good food, good nutrition, and I did a lot of breathing exercise, it helped me a lot. And I think it's been around 8 years, 9 years I've been free from it. But definitely it was very bad. I couldn't breathe. I think it first started when Dussehra was there, around that, and even before Dussehra. So it was not even Dussehra, it was before Dussehra I started experiencing, because I think cold, and second, the pollution in Delhi. That is why I experienced. Okay, so doctor, a lot of time people have confusion. Like, I'm sure after hearing all of this, people will have some confusion that how do we know that we have any kind of breathing issue, or we have some kind of cancer, or do we have any disease like tuberculosis? Like, people usually confuse between both. And would you like to talk about that as well?
Sure. That's a very important and very intelligent question, Digvijay. So tuberculosis of the chest is quite common in our country, and these patients present with a cough and blood in the sputum. That's the commonest presentation of these patients. Unfortunately, lung cancer also presents primarily with cough and blood in the sputum. And since tuberculosis is far, far more common in our country, and awareness about the fact that lung cancer is now a major issue, and now we are seeing lung cancer at younger age group also. That awareness still sadly missing, not only amongst public, but also amongst medical fraternity in many areas. And therefore, these patients who present with cough and blood in the sputum are often misdiagnosed as tuberculosis and put on anti-tubercular treatment, which they take for many months before the disease starts increasing, and then they have CT scan or something and are diagnosed. But by the time, many precious months have been lost, and many times the disease, in fact, it's just a coincidence that just half an hour back, I saw a lady who had a similar picture, cough, blood in the sputum, goes to a doctor in one of the major towns in UP, gets started on anti-tubercular treatment, which she has been taken for 5 months with no response. And day before yesterday, somebody advised a CT scan, which shows that there is a large cancer. Yesterday, PET scan shows that the cancer has spread all over the body. So there is a message. I would just like to share my experience of lung cancer. I started this practice in 1988 at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, and now 30 years later in 2018, we analyzed the data, and we found that the lung cancer picture has changed dramatically. At that time, 90% of the patients were smokers. In my recent data, I found only 50% to be smokers, which means 50% of my lung cancer patients today are non-smokers. Now, why are these so-called non-smokers getting lung cancer? My answer is that they are so-called non-smokers. They are not true non-smokers because of living in polluted cities. They're all breathing polluted air, and they are also inhaling same cancer-causing agents as a smoker does. So, although conventionally they are called non-smokers, but truly they are actually smokers because they are also taking those toxic chemicals. I used to see people in late 50s and 60s, but now we are seeing people in 30s and 40s. In fact, this lady that I'm mentioning about, I saw half an hour back, is only 36 years old, non-smoker from a non-smoking family, and she's got an advanced lung cancer. Earlier, very few women were getting lung cancer. Today, 40% of my patients are lung cancer. So the message I want to give to viewers is, in today's context, based on what I'm seeing in my outdoor as a lung cancer surgeon, anyone above the age of 30 years, if the patient presents with cough and especially blood in the sputum and chest X-ray shows a patch, I would not call it and label it as tuberculosis unless I have done a biopsy and proved it to be tuberculosis or lung cancer. If it comes tuberculosis, I'm happy to put on anti-TB treatment, but I would like to rule out lung cancer by biopsy. So message is very clear. Lung cancer is occurring more often. Lung cancer is occurring more often in so-called non-smokers. It is occurring more often in women, and it is occurring at younger and younger age group. And we need to be very watchful about it. Digvijay.
I think that's what you said towards the end is also very important, that we need to be watchful and also educate people around us. Since we tend to get some information, it's very important to also tell it to other people. So, okay, talking about all these things, and how can we care about our lungs? And like we have seen people, even before COVID, some people used to use masks. Is that very effective? Let's say if you are wearing an N95 mask around these big cities, or is air purifier, which we usually have at home, right? Not a lot of people use it, but is it effective when people use air purifiers? Because, or do you think it's more about a marketing thing, or it will cause a very minuscule effect?
Sure. So the reason why I'm smiling while you are asking this question is this is the commonest question asked of me today about role of mask and air purifiers as a means of preventing the damage from polluted air. So first thing about mask. So what are the masks which are available? Cloth mask, no use. So when we are looking at chemicals in polluted air, there are two types of things. One is gases. Gases like carbon monoxide, ozone, various other chemicals, methane and other gases which are there. Similarly, various other cancer-causing chemicals. Those are in a molecular form. Their particles Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah. I think
Okay,
we
I
had
hope.
some connectivity issue.
Can people hear us? Hey everyone, if
Are
you could
we
just give a
are
thumbs
we
up.
audible? Just send us thumbs up if both of us are audible, friends. No, there are no thumbs up.
There are no thumbs. I think yeah, video has paused. Okay, can you hear us? Can you hear us now? Yeah, can people hear us now? Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Digvijay. I can see you and I can hear you.
Okay.
Video is live. I don't know if
Okay,
people are
can
able
people
to.
uh, can you all see us? Can you hear us? Yes? Okay, great. I think we are audible. Nice. Thank you so much for the patience,
Okay.
everyone.
No. Yeah. Yeah. Now we are getting these thumbs up and hearts, so which means we are audible. So I
Okay.
was mentioning about the mask. So we have these gases. They are basically in a particulate size, and we have particulate matter, which is termed as PM 2.5, which is 2.5 micron in size, and PM 10, which is 10 micron. And now we also know that we have smaller particles like PM 1 and sub 1, which means
Okay.
1 micron. Now, these are all very tiny micron size particles. So if you are wearing a cloth mask, no good, everything will pass. If you are wearing this surgical mask, which I am wearing, which is only supposed to prevent droplets, no good, everything will pass. But if you wear an N95 mask, then
Okay.
definitely majority of these particles will get trapped. So if you want to use a mask to prevent your exposure to air pollution, you need to use only N95. But the catch is it should be properly fitting. Your nose, mouth must be properly covered, and it should be fitting snugly from the sides, covering your chin as well. A lot of people just put it in front of their lips. That's no good, because if the air is passing through your nose without going through the mask, it's no good. So idea is all the air that passes must pass only through the mask. If you allow the air to pass by the side of the mask, you are again losing the value. And it is good only as long as it is there. The moment you remove it and take a breath without the mask, you are again exposing. So in today's context of this serious crisis, I would recommend everybody gets an N95, but it should be fresh. If your N95 has become wet, it loses its effectiveness, and then again, it's no good. So that's about the mask. Now coming
Okay.
to air purifier. Now air purifier is like an air conditioner, that just as air conditioner sucks in air, cools it, and gives it back to the room. Same way,
Mm-hmm.
air purifier sucks in air, cleans it, makes it pass through a filter, and gives it back to the room. So there are two components which are there. One is the fan, which is sucking in air, and the other is the filter, which is cleaning air. So fan has to be of the capacity that it changes the air of that room. So if you put a small air purifier in a huge hall and it's not able to handle the volume of air, it will be no good. That's number one.
Okay.
Number two, there is a filter inside which filters the various particles. And if you have a lot of material in the air, the filter actually gets choked quickly, needs to be changed or replaced. And if you don't do that, it actually becomes worse than not having an air purifier. So these are the two. That's thirdly, just like air conditioner is affecting when the room is closed, you've got to keep the windows and the doors closed. Then only
Absolutely.
AC is effective. So same way, air purifier has to be in a closed space. So my answer, something which I quote very often, is that air pollution is a public issue. It's not a
Mm-hmm.
private issue. The entire air across Indo-Gangetic belt in North India today is toxic, unfit for human consumption, and polluted. The entire air needs to be cleaned. If you just clean the air inside a small room by putting air purifier, even if it's of effective size, even if the filter is good, It will be good for you only as long as you are confined to within that room with windows and doors closed. If you move out to go to your office and you drive through the city, the effect of air purifier is not going to carry with you. So therefore, I am, as a chest doctor, I am recommending it for people who are having pre-existing chest diseases, asthma, COPD, post-COVID issues. They are at a very high risk. So I'm asking them to confine themselves to within rooms as long as this problem is persisting, and I'm telling them to install a good size, proper volume air purifier in that room. Also put air purifying plants like aloe vera, mother-in-law's tongue, araucaria. All these plants clean the air. Now this is a private solution, a temporary solution, which cannot be recommended at all across the country as a permanent solution. And in this context, let me mention about something which is being proposed by various politicians as a very hi-fi thing. Smog towers, which has been installed in Connaught Place by
Yes.
funding crores. It's a colossal waste of public money. By putting one tower in the center of Connaught Place, you are not even going to clean minuscule amount of air. It is nothing but just a wastage of public money. Solution to air pollution does not lie in letting the air get dirty and then trying to clean it. The solution to air pollution lies in finding out the cause of pollution of air and hitting at the cause rather than letting the cause persist and trying to clean the air. No country in the world has been able to do that, and it will not succeed in India either. Digvijay.
Okay, I think that's quite interesting because a lot of time we see people spending a lot of money in air purifiers, spending money in buying masks, fancy masks, and I think so. You should put the money in the right place. And if you think in a city like Delhi and other places like cities in UP, Mumbai, all these places wherever you think there is a lot of pollution, I think it's a smart decision to invest in something which will actually save your life in the longer run, or at least help you to live a healthier life. So I think so that's very important, and also important to invest in the right kind of air purifier because commonly I've seen people buy small air conditioners to save a lot of money, but eventually it doesn't even cool the entire room. I think same thing applies with air
Sure.
purifier as well. So it's very important to also invest in the right kind of equipments. Okay, us as common people, us as because common man, we usually think we don't have a lot of power, but we usually have a lot of power because we are the one who really make the change. We are out there making change, and because common man, there are a lot of people. We are not just one. So what do you think we can do for ourselves and for let's say India, and not even India, let's say our city or just the place that we are living in? What all changes can we make to create a difference?
Yes, Digvijay, very, very good question, because everybody always asks, or rather points fingers at others. Oh, what can government do? What should? So it's the first time I have heard someone ask a question, what can we do? I'm very impressed, Digvijay. Very, very nice, positive approach. And I do expect that from somebody, a lifestyle person. Excellent, Digvijay.
Thank you
So
so much, doctor.
the answer is, I would say three things.
Mm-hmm.
One, the purpose of this discussion today is to increase awareness amongst people about the existence and the menace of lung cancer. So I would like all the people to carry this message that lung cancer and other lung diseases are now becoming a big menace in our country. Last 20 years belong to heart. But next 20 years are going to belong to heart, means it was the heart diseases which were the talk of the town, which were the major killers, which were talked about all the time. In the next 20 years, it's the lung diseases which are going to be the major killer, which are going to be addressed as far as the cause of disease and death is concerned. So one is that focus is shifting from heart to lung, and lung cancer is the deadliest of the various diseases. And the good thing and bad thing about lung cancer is, if it is diagnosed in an early stage, when it is still confined to lung or at max within the glands in the chest, it can be operated, and that's my job, to take out the lung cancers from the chest when they are in early stage, and patients can be cured. But if you miss the bus early and allow the cancers to grow in size, as sadly happened with this lady whom I saw half an hour back, then cure is not possible, and then we have chemotherapy and radiation therapy by which we try to control. So very important message for all the friends is lung cancer is increasing in our country. It's occurring with more and more at younger and younger age, more and more in non-smokers, also in women. Symptoms are cough and blood in the sputum, which overlaps with symptoms of tuberculosis. Biopsy is the major way of confirming the diagnosis. We should be alert about it and get the test done in time to be able to diagnose it in early stage, at which time by proper surgery at proper centers, it is still curable. So that's number one message. Number two message about awareness. Why is lung cancer increasing overall, and why is it increasing in so-called non-smokers? I think air pollution has got a huge role to play. And the second important message I want to give, air pollution is not a chemical issue. It is not an environmental issue. Friends, air pollution is a major health issue. It is damaging the health of our children, adults, elderly people. In fact, now there is evidence to say that it starts the damage even before we are born. When we are in our mother's womb, if the mother is breathing toxic air, the toxic chemicals go and damage the baby from within the. So even before we are born, this menace starts hurting us, harming us, sometimes even killing us, and therefore we need to increase the awareness about air pollution being health issue. I propose a AAA approach. We need to become aware of the health menace from air pollution. When we become aware, we will be awakened to this danger. And when we are awakened, we will take the actions which need to be taken to control. So awareness, awakening, action is what I wish to propose. This covers lung cancer, and this also covers air pollution, which is majorly responsible for lung cancer and host of other lung diseases. Digvijay.
Okay, I think that's very insightful, and that's quite interesting also. Okay, quick question, doctor. Like, let's say people who want to, let's say they want to get themselves checked. So, are there any? Do they have to go for all the tests, or do they have to start with certain tests first? So, what would you suggest? Maybe what should be the approach?
Very practical question, Digvijay. So, if someone wants to get it checked, I think they need to go to a physician or a chest physician, and first they should get themselves examined with a stethoscope, which I think is a very, very important part of the whole process. Often missed. People straight away go for investigation, but clinical examination of patient is a very important step. This should be followed by a simple chest X-ray. And if chest X-ray is 100% normal, I don't think we need to go beyond. If you are totally asymptomatic, but if chest X-ray has any doubtful thing, it should be followed by a CT scan of the chest or any other appropriate test which the doctor may advise. Side by side, there is another test called lung function test, in which we ask the patient to breathe out and breathe in through a machine which calculates the various volumes of air that we can inhale in 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and that we exhale, and does some calculations which tell us about our lung capacity and about our ability to take in and take out air, which again tells us indirectly about the status of the health of the lung. So a combination of clinical examination, chest X-ray, lung function test, and if advised by doctor, then CT scan. One CT scan is equal to about 500 chest X-rays in terms of radiation exposure. So I want to warn people not to rush unnecessarily for CT scans, which many people often do, but do it only when the doctor recommends it. But a chest X-ray can always be done, and PFT, lung function test, can be done. These are basic steps to find out the status of the lung health. Digvijay.
Okay, thank you, doctor. You also said something as PET scan?
PFT.
PFT.
It's called pulmonary function test. So pulmonary is the technical term for lung. We can also call it lung function test. So basically we assess the function of the lungs by asking the person to breathe. So it's a small laptop based device, and you breathe out and in through a mouthpiece, and the computer calculates the various volumes and
Okay.
gives you an idea about the status of your lung health.
Okay. Thank you so much. Also, talking about I Care for Lung, as the campaign is named. So, can you just talk a little more about that?
Sure,
And
sure. So, Digvijay, I'm very pained to share with all our friends that 30 years back, when I started my career as a chest surgeon, and I used to open 2, 3 chests every day, mostly I would find pink lungs because we are born with pink lungs. And only when I operate on smokers, I would find black lungs. That was the situation 30 years back. Of late, it's become a rarity for me to see a pink lung in anyone coming from cities. In fact, even teenagers coming from city, I find black deposits on their lungs, which is a direct consequence of their exposure to pollution. Now, this is I call it silent bad revolution, which is happening inside the chest of the people that I am privy to because of peeping into the chest of 4, 5 people every day, but other people are not. So I thought it is my sacred duty to share this information with people and start a campaign to tell people that your lungs keep you alive. But do you know that in the process of keeping you alive by breathing 25,000 times every day, the poor lungs suffer a lot of damage. वो हिंदी में कहते हैं ना कि तुमको जिंदा रखने के लिए हमने अपनी जान दे दी. So lungs are losing their power. They are developing disease. They are virtually killing themselves to keep you alive. And I think time has come where we start taking measures to look after the lungs, which look after our health. So that's why we started this campaign, hashtag I Care for Lungs, which is all about doing everything that it takes to make the lung healthy and not doing anything which damages the lungs. So this I Care for Lungs is a campaign by all of us to take care of our lungs. And maybe you can say a Thanksgiving small gesture to show to the lungs that yes, you keep us alive and we care for you too. Digvijay.
that's very nice. Okay, so a small, quick thing that I would also like to add to this is, people usually talk about anti-aging. Like a lot of people, they ask me, Digvijay, oh, can you tell us an anti-aging diet or an anti-aging juice? I usually tell them, there's nothing as anti-aging. We all are aging, right? But what we can do is delay aging by not putting in the things that age us. Now, what people do, they do all kinds of physical activity, eat well, but they don't sleep well, or they sleep well, but they don't eat well. If they do both, they eat well and sleep well, they maybe smoke or they drink a lot. So what I usually tell people, your job is to take care of your health, which will delay aging, which will eventually lead to anti-aging, right? Which people usually talk about. But everybody is going to age. How early you age all depends on your habits and what you do every day. So that is what I usually tell people. So also,
Very well said, Digvijay. If I may just add one more. You said
yes, yes.
eat well, excellent. Sleep well, excellent. You said don't do these things. That can be put as act well. So eat well, sleep well, act well, and one more I will add, think well. If you
True.
keep your thinking positive all the time and don't allow negative thoughts to enter your mind, I think that also will delay aging. So sleep well, act well, eat well, and think well. If you do these 4 things, wellness will flood you. Digvijay.
Absolutely. I think nicely said, sir. I think think well is very important because usually we get into bad habits a lot of time because of influence and because of, let's say, our peers. So it's very
Sure.
important to have that positive and that approach towards doing things for your wellness. Right? People usually get
Wellness.
into bad habits initially because maybe looking at something which is influential, looking at people who smoke and just being just wanted to try it out. So I think that is very important. And secondly, I think so. How I can also relate to it is how I can relate it to something that's delaying in figuring out if you have cancer or not. People usually get scared. That's why I don't go to the doctor. They think that if I not go to a doctor, I won't even know what I have. So no stress. So I think it's very important, to just face whatever is happening, go to a doctor and, just at the earliest figure it out and get it sorted. So I think so that's also very important to have a positive approach. Even I've heard about like people who have cancer, people who survive are the ones who are really positive throughout the process.
Sure.
Because
that's a very, very important and a very strong message you have given, that positive thinking. Now it's a scientific. Earlier we used to think that it has some, mythological or some philosophical approach, but now it's proved scientifically that people who have a positive attitude, they have chemicals in their body which repair the tissues faster, which delay healing. And in case you are a cancer patient, they actually delay recurrence of cancer. And people who are positive in their approach, who eat well, sleep well, think well, act well, live longer after cancer surgery than their counterparts who do otherwise. Digvijay.
Yeah. Yes, I think rightly said. Also because I think so it increases inflammation if you really are in a mode of stress. So I think so that also because I totally talk about this all the time.
Very true, very true. I'm so happy to be hearing these scientific facts coming out from you. Yes, it increases inflammation. It releases chemicals which have a negative influence on the healing in the body, and overall they damage your body. Very well.
So that
it's a pleasure interacting with you, Digvijay.
My pleasure. So I usually tell it to all all the people who I get in touch with who ask me questions. I'm like, if you want to get on a fat loss journey, you want to have a healthy body, it's very important to sleep well, because if you not sleep well, inflammation will come. If you eat junk food, inflammation. If you will stress, if you overthink, again inflammation. And all of the diseases, they start from inflammation. Can be due to XYZ reason. Maybe chemicals, maybe due to having trans fat, junk food, etc., etc. So I talk about it a lot of times. I think so. That's
you put DR before your name, Digvijay.
Sorry, sir.
You put DR before your name, Dr. Digvijay.
So thank you so much. That is a compliment.
Very well.
Thank you so much.
Very well. Yeah.
So okay. So how can people participate in this campaign? How can they take this campaign forward, or at least as I said, common man, they have a lot of powers. How people like us, let's say, because we are not at the front line, or we are not doctors, or we are not somebody who can really make big changes, but I think so a lot of small changes can have a big impact. So what do you think we as common people can do and initiate, let's say, participate in this campaign, I Care for Lungs?
Yeah. So Digvijay, most of the big things actually started small. So same way as you very well said, that the power of common man, power of a common citizen, is what this campaign is all about. So if all those who are part of this conversation right now, or all those who will have access to this conversation through your various social media handles, if they spread this information, if they spread this campaign, #ICareForLungs, and tell people that lung cancer is increasing in incidence, occurring at younger age, occurring in non-smokers, occurring in women, and all this is happening because of air pollution. Air pollution is no more an environmental or chemical issue. It's a health issue. It's damaging us. It's damaging our children. Our next generation's survival and future is at stake. And it's not right to be blaming everything on the government and saying that they should do, they should do. We are the polluters, and we only ought to be the solution providers also. So let us do our bit. Let's reduce the dust as much as possible. Let's reduce production of smoke as much as possible. So I use the word dhu. Dhu is dhul, that is dust, and the dhu is dhua, that is smoke. So dust and smoke, these are the two biggest enemies of lung. And if each one of us takes a pledge to reduce the smoke and dust as far as possible by our small actions, I think small actions by millions of people will convert into a huge movement. And I dream of a day where movement for clean air becomes a people's movement, a public movement. I'm sure if that happens, all of us will breathe cleaner air, and that's the best gift, Digvijay, we can give to our children. Far more precious than cars or houses or food or
Sure.
clothes. Clean air is the best gift for our next generation. Digvijay.
Yeah, I think that's very well said, sir. Okay, apart from this, just one last thing I would like to ask: how many times should people go and get themselves checked? Like a lot of people I know they don't go for medical checkups. Like it's for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, they don't. Right till the time they have a issue, which I hope no one has. But when they have an
Yeah.
issue, then they go to a doctor. So how many times would you suggest people go for such tests, or let's say a very basic test? How many times a year? What would you suggest?
So I would say that let's divide people into two groups. Those who are having symptoms. So anyone who's experiencing breathlessness, pain in the chest, any difficulty in doing, some kind of breathlessness in doing very minimal activity, persistent cough, sputum having greenish yellowish cough, or blood in the sputum. If any of these symptoms are present, then there is a very high probability of your having some lung disease, and you must go and see the doctor immediately, get all the tests done, and not rest till actually a diagnosis has been achieved and the treatment started. And thereafter, you need to follow up with the doctor as and when he advises. So that's one group. The other group is people like you and me who are at present apparently healthy looking, not having any problem, but are exposed to air pollution. So I think anybody above the age of 30 years could probably go for a chest x-ray maybe once in a year or so. And
Okay.
that actually should be more than enough. I would not recommend misuse of chest x-rays because I've seen a lot of people getting x-rays done at frequent intervals. I would say visit a doctor. Clinical examination is very important. Lung function test is a very safe test which can be done every 6 months or 1 year. It tells us about the condition of the lungs and can be repeated as and when required. But I would warn against the misuse of CT scan, which I saw rampantly during the
Okay.
COVID era when people just misused. They didn't realize how much exposure to radiation they underwent. So just a warning against that. Digvijay.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. We'll be taking questions. If anyone has any questions, please you can let us know in the comments. And I hope we covered a lot of things. I'm sure we covered a lot of different aspects about lung cancer, how we can contribute to this campaign, how we can figure out, and how we can also educate our peers and maybe our elders. If people you have any questions, please let us know in the comment section. And I think so. It was a great discussion. I learned a lot about it, and usually we don't get to know about. Usually people just Google about things, and I think these are such things which are not talked about. So it's very important to get educated about all these things, and also spread this message about how air pollution is also how smoking, and how all these small things can also be a killer, uh, silent killer, I would say. I think people
That's
have.
actually that's actually a sad part about air pollution, Digvijay. That Corona has killed less people in the last 1 year than air pollution kills every year worldwide. But
Okay.
air pollution does not get that kind of attention as Corona. Corona has brought the world to a grinding halt. But air pollution, despite killing more people every year for the last many years, hasn't got even an iota of that attention because it's a slow killer, it's a silent killer. It doesn't kill you immediately, instantly. It kills you slowly, and by the time you are killed, you are killed because of some disease, and that disease gets written as a cause of death and never air pollution. So if somebody develops lung cancer due to air pollution and dies due to that, his cause of death will be known as lung cancer, and air pollution will never come. A very
Okay.
landmark step in this direction was taken recently by a court in London, where a couple of years back, an 8-year-old girl who had exacerbation of her asthma due to air pollution died of asthma, and that matter went to the court. and the court has ordered the police to write air pollution induced asthma exacerbation as the cause of her death. In normal circumstances, it would have been written as exacerbation of asthma as the cause of
Okay.
death. But the court ordered that write air pollution induced exacerbation. So it's the first time in the world where a court has ordered air pollution to be mentioned as the cause of death. And I strongly feel that courts across the world take notice and start putting this, because then only air pollution will start to get the attention that it needs to get. And if that doesn't happen, trust me, the future of our next generation is doomed, because the children are suffering irreversible, irreparable damage due to the exposure to air pollution. Digvijay.
Okay, that's very well said, sir. I think so. Yes, we need to really take all these things accountable so that people also know that it's not just lung cancer, it's lung cancer due to air pollution. So that some people start taking steps and, watching those people, other people also start involving themselves into such activity where they, take care of all these small things which cause a big difference. And apart from this, last few things I would like to ask. One, any food for, let's say, keeping your lungs healthy, any exercise for keeping your lung healthy? And, I know, like, not indulging yourself in any kind of smoking or maybe smoke, like hookah is really popular these days. People think hookah is, it's healthy because, there's no direct smoke, there's no cigarette involved, which is absolutely false. But apart from all these smoking hookahs, cigarettes, do you think there are certain things that you should avoid everyday basis, and foods and exercise that people can do?
So coming first to food, Digvijay. So you already said that we should avoid junk food. So junk food is bad for your body, and lung is also included in the body. There is no specific food which I would like to mention as far as the lung is concerned. So avoid junk food. Ghar ka, mother ke haath ka healthy khana is probably the best khana, and you should, rely on that. Number one. Number two, coming to exercise. So two things are important. One is that avoid things which damage lungs. Smoking is one of the most avoidable things. You already are smoking so much because of breathing polluted air, which you cannot stop. So why add more smoke to that smoke? So that's first thing I would recommend. If you are still a smoker today, right after this talk, maybe the best time to stop smoking. And before this program, the last cigarette that you smoke, let that be your last cigarette. So that's first message I would like to give. And trust me, it's just a question of taking a decision. A lot of people say, oh, guy, I'm addicted to it. How will I leave it? I'm going to ask my psychiatrist. No, you don't need anybody. You just decide, I'm going to quit. Last cigarette was my last cigarette, period. I'm not touching it. And trust me, it can happen. That's number one. Two, as far as possible, avoid going to places which are highly polluted. If needed, you wear an N95 mask. So that's the second damage causing agent which you minimize your exposure to. Then there are a lot of exercises. And during COVID period, I put out a lot of videos asking people to do lung exercises. So the best thing I say is that you take a deep breath. If you watch me, and I'm sitting steady, and then I take a deep breath to blow up my chest. Go on inhaling as deep as you can. So what it is doing is that normally we are using only about 60-70% of our lung capacity, and the peripheral most parts of the lung are not really recruited. But when we do this, we blow up the lungs like a balloon, and they open up and their capacity increases. So take a deep breath, inhale as deep as you can, and then hold the breath as long as you can. And I put out this 40 to 45 seconds as a very, very safe margin. If you can hold your breath for about 40-45 seconds, that means your lungs are perfect and they are in good condition. After that, you let go slowly. Thereafter, you take a few normal breaths, and then you can again do this exercise, let go, few normal breaths. So 15, 20 times, if you can do it morning, evening, it's a very good way of increasing the capacity of your lung, maintaining the capacity of your lung, and doing a very crude lung function test. During COVID time, I was all the time advising people not to go for CT, but to do this test as a means of assessing your lung function. Anyone who can hold his breath for 45 seconds plus has got perfect lungs. That's a crude test time. So you don't have to do PFT. If you can hold for 45 seconds plus, your PFT is excellent. Other thing is outdoor exercises. So anything which makes you breathless, if you do that cardio exercise half an hour, that's your area, Digvijay. I'm encroaching on your area.
No,
But that, by making your lungs breathe faster, you actually increase the capacity of the lung. The only caveat is that in today's times of polluted air, we are advising against any outdoor activity for the reason that normally when we are at rest, we breathe about 14 to 16 times a minute. But when we exercise, maybe we breathe 35, 40, 45, 50 times a minute. And the more frequently you breathe, more toxic air you are taking. So in the times of polluted, toxic air, this should be avoided because you are increasing your exposure to toxins. So in times of pollution, we advise against any outdoor activity. Otherwise, treadmill or cycle or brisk walking, leisurely walking does not help. It helps only when your exercise makes you breathless. So I always show to my patient कि आप ऐसे करिए. इस तरह से अगर आपका सांस फूल रहा है तो इस तरह की एक्सरसाइज जिसमें आपका सांस फूले, ये एक्सरसाइज अगर आपने हाफ एन आवर per day at least 5 days a week की, so you will be doing lot of good to your lungs. So on one hand, you avoid activities and things which damage. On the other hand, you do activities which strengthen the lungs. The two together will make you Digvijay.
Thank you so much, sir. I think that was pretty insightful. I think as people who are not very well educated about all these things, I'm sure they learned a lot from this, and I'm sure a lot of people will leave smoking, or their friends and family are watching it, and they'll help their let's say relatives or their son, daughter, or anyone to quit smoking. And just one more thing, like you're talking about the breathing exercise, I also usually tell people to. So a lot of people I've seen, just to show that their belly is flat, they usually take their core in and they're walking like this, and they're not breathing nicely. So that is what I tell people, to just relax. It's okay if you have a belly. It's okay. It's fine. It's your belly. Everybody's supposed to have a belly. Work on it gradually. Your fat will go inside, but breathe nicely. And how I tell people is, even when you're doing breathing exercise, imagine as your chest is a jar and you're filling in water, right? Let's say air is water over here and you're filling in water. So first try to fill whenever you put water in a glass, always the bottom will fill first and it will go up. And when you empty it, first the upper part will empty and then the bottom will empty. So this is how I usually suggest, when people are doing exercise or whenever people have time. So there's one more thing I tell people. Whenever you are annoyed, you're angry, or you're anxious, your breathing is short. So every day you would like to breathe. The breathing should be very deep. When you start breathing short, it mimics the same, it releases the same chemicals as when you're stressed or when you're angry or anxious. So I think so it's very important to also practice all these breathing exercises. And I think so that's this was a very good discussion. I enjoyed, and I think so it was very fun talking about all these things. So it's a very serious topic, but for us, especially us, who don't read much about it, for us I think it's pretty insightful, and it became quite interesting. So a lot of insights we got, and thank you so much, sir, for coming over here and gracing our live and live both. And thank you for all the information. I'll quickly take a question or two if there are any. I saw a lot of questions, so in our conversation I was asking such questions.
Yeah,
any
they were
suggestion?
answered.
Yes, sir. I think we answered a lot of them. Anything for people on oxygen support?
Yeah, people who are on oxygen support, there is the two important informations I would like to give. That oxygen is being given to maintain the oxygen saturation in our blood. And ideal oxygen saturation is around 94, 95. But in the COVID times, we actually brought it down to about 92 to 94. In fact, in crisis period, we were even accepting up to 90 as normal. But I would say 92 to 94 is the ideal. A lot of people have tendency to give maximum possible oxygen to take saturation to 100. That actually proves counterproductive and can harm the patient. The message is, and please mind the words very carefully, minimum oxygen to achieve a saturation of 92 to 94. And when I say 92 to 94, it includes all situations. Whether you are resting, sleeping, you are walking, going to toilet, eating food, or whatever time. At rest, your requirement will be low. As you will do your activity, whether in the toilet or eating or walking, the saturation will tend to go down with the same level of oxygen inflow. So you will need to increase. So oxygen requirement is a dynamic process which needs to be modulated depending on the level of your activity. And the target is to hit an oxygen saturation of 92 to 94, which should be regularly monitored with a pulse oximeter, which thanks to Corona is present in every household in our country. Digvijay.
Okay, thank you so much, doctor. And so somebody has asked, feel pain in chest while inhaling. What should be done? It's been months since they have been experiencing that. Is first of all, they should have seen a doctor.
I
but
think
anyway,
he should go and see a doctor.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think so. Apart from this, I think we have answered. You have answered. Okay, there are more.
Somebody has written, my mom uses BiPAP machine at night while sleeping. How can we get rid of the machine? Well, BiPAP machine is often given to people who have something called sleep apnea, or people who have bad damaged lungs, a disease called COPD. So what happens when you are sleeping, your breathing rate tends to go down and your oxygen levels tend to go down and CO2 level tends to go up. So these people are given BiPAP support at night while they are sleeping. I cannot be advising on this digital platform how the machine is to be taken off. This is something you need to talk to your doctors, because if the saturation during sleep goes below 92, she does need BiPAP support. So I would leave it at this stage.
Okay, I think that was, I think we have answered a lot of questions, sir, and it was a pleasure. It was really insightful.
So,
yes, sir. Yes,
so if that's the end, Digvijay, please allow me also to thank you. Trust me, I've interacted with lots of people on these platforms, but it's truly very, very interesting interacting with you. And of course, so much, seeing your killer smile in between. It's really healthy. You actually send out a very positive and healthy message to all. And I would also like to thank all the viewers. And I will end by requesting that it's a very useful information. And if all of you can use your might to reach this information to the country, I think you would be doing a great service to people of this country. Thank you so much, Digvijay. Thank you, listeners.
Thank you so much. Just quickly, I'd like to urge people. I'll be sharing a story towards the end after this live. You can click on the swipe up link and check out. There'll be some information about eye care for lungs, about the campaign. You can share it on your social media handles, and you can also participate in that. There are videos, you can watch it. It's quite insightful, and also share it with your friends. And thank you everyone for joining. Thank you so much, doctor, for joining. It was really a pleasure. That is how we learn. I think it's so good to get so much information in such a short time. So I really enjoy such interactions, and I'm really happy to get so much of knowledge. And thank you so much. I hope to talk to you soon and meet you soon. And maybe I'll meet you when I come to Delhi. And
likewise.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Goodbye and have a wonderful evening, all of you.
Same to you, sir.